Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I'm Diana with United Way of Central Oregon. There are United Ways throughout the country and the world, and each United Way is a separate nonprofit that's tasked with addressing the greatest needs in their particular community. 2020 has been a really hard year for many of us, and it's put a spotlight on inequities in our region and across the nation. We know that nearly 40% of folks in Central Oregon were living on the edge before COVID-19. We found in a study that we commissioned called ALICE that 10,500 households were living below the federal poverty level, and another 27,000 households were living above the federal poverty level, but still not making enough income to cover the basic expenses. These are folks like us who are living paycheck to paycheck and making tough decisions every day with their hard-earned dollars between car repairs, healthcare, and supplies for their kids. We also know that on January 29th, 2020, before the pandemic hit, the homeless count, which happens every year, counted about 1,000 folks experiencing homelessness in Central Oregon. That number was 10% more than last year, 48% more than last year for a parent with a child, and 23% more than last year for veterans. In addition, based on warming shelter data that we have from November 2019 to April 2020, we know that about nearly 2,000 folks were experiencing homelessness in our region before the pandemic. And then COVID-19 hit. These numbers are growing. The have-mores are having more, and the have-lesses are having less. Since COVID-19, the agencies that are serving the folks who are most vulnerable in our community are reporting a near tripling of need for services. So that means that the number of folks experiencing homelessness in our region may be as high as 6,000 people. And we know that this crisis is not over. That's why we at United Way of Central Oregon, as a long-standing and nimble nonprofit, acted immediately and evolved our priorities towards COVID-19. We created 2 funds to address the fallout. First is our emergency response fund that is to deliver emergency help immediately to Central Oregons that were hardest hit right at the very beginning. We were able to mobilize funding throughout our region, and we did 5 rounds of grant making in 5 weeks, 1 a week, in order to get the funds out as quickly as possible. We awarded $135,000 to 29 Central Oregon nonprofits, and basically we received a grant request on Monday. Our Volunteer Community Impact Committee reviewed the requests on Wednesday, and the checks were in the mail to those nonprofits on Friday. Second, we created a separate local Central Oregon COVID-19 Recovery and Resilience Fund that's used to address ongoing community needs that are resulting from the pandemic. From this fund so far, our Volunteer Community Impact Committee has done 1 round of grant making and has awarded $160,000 to 26 local nonprofits. So far, we've awarded 44 local COVID-19 partner nonprofits with $295,000 in emergency relief, feeding people, keeping them in their homes, and protecting our most vulnerable. In fact, 26% of folks in Central Oregon are served by at least one of these programs. And if it's not us, then it's our friends and family and neighbors that are accessing these services right now. A little behind the scenes work that we're doing in the face of COVID-19 is also that we've been entrusted by various government agencies to allocate their CARES Act funding locally. Along those lines, we were empowered by the City of Bend to allocate $500,000 of their CARES Act funding to nonprofits providing essential services to vulnerable populations. With that, we supplied $100,000 for free and steeply reduced full-day childcare to 750 students in Bend area. We've also been tasked in Deschutes County with distributing over $260,000 of federal, county, and emergency food and shelter grants. So all of that, as you can tell, is well over $1 million that we've allocated since the pandemic has arisen. I also want to take a moment to tell you about some additional work we're doing. We are working upstream to catch kids before they face so many of the challenges that are faced by adults today. And that's because we know that not everyone is dealt the same hand in life, and kids are not in charge of the circumstances that they are born into and raised in. So we're focused on fixing the imbalances for today's kids so that when they're tomorrow's adults, they can thrive. That work that we're doing, that upstream work, is through our TRACES program, and it's really on resilience and equity. So first I'll tell you just a bit about resilience. Resilience defines people's ability to manage stress and cope with hardship and adapt when challenging circumstances occur. We know that 64% of adults faced at least one traumatic experience as a child, and 10% of adults confronted 5 or more. And these are things like abuse, neglect, substance abuse, divorce, death or incarceration of a parent. And these things can be thought of kind of like PTSD in kids. And the idea is that with focusing on trauma and resilience, that maybe some of the issues that are immediate now won't exist in the future if we can address them for kids when they're kids. I also want to talk to you about our equity work. That's really about centering those who are most impacted by inequity and about meeting people where they are and supporting them in their lives right now. So that equity and resilience work is through our Traces program. And so far, we've touched the lives of 8,200 individuals as the backbone of this collective impact movement. And we also have 150 different private, public, and nonprofit sector partners all throughout Central Oregon working on this with us. As you might have noticed, all of that work is throughout all of Central Oregon. And that's why we've actually just changed our name to United Way of Central Oregon, which is pretty exciting. So we fight for the health, education, financial stability, and resilience of every person in our Central Oregon community. And we're driving the change that's building a resilient Central Oregon. I'm so grateful and inspired, not only to be part of the important work at United Way, but also to see that as much need as there are so many people who want to help. Through our local United Way Central Oregon Impact Fund, we make the greatest possible impact through 44 different programs with local health and human services nonprofits. During all that 2020 has brought our way, our community members have really stepped up. None of what we do would be possible without the trust and generosity of our neighbors and folks like you. Through all the uncertainties, we're here helping locally for 68 years now and in the future. And we're here to help you as well. If you find yourself or someone you know in a place where you know that you need access to the safety net that we provide, please reach out or check our website. Our website is centraloregonunitedway.org, and our phone number is 541-389-6507. You can feel free to reach out with your questions too. Thank you so much for your time.